Learning about this concept completely just blew my mind. And not only that, it really helped me to feel confident in the fact that my coaching and hypnosis session worked and that I was able to help this client have the transformation that they desired when they decided to work with me. It has been such an amazing feeling to know that it worked, right? It's such a relief, and there's an inner satisfaction and fulfillment in knowing that after each and every one of your sessions, you just know that you have helped a client to the best of their abilities and that their life is going to be completely different in an amazing transformative way moving forward. And as coaches, sometimes we doubt ourselves, right? We doubt our ability, we doubt our techniques, and we doubt ourselves and not believe in ourselves enough. And one of the things that really helps me believe in myself is having a method, to know a technique, to know for sure that my client's hypnosis session did work. And so, of course, I wanted to share this with you because this had a tremendous impact in my life. And this was something that was not taught in my regular hypnosis training, surprisingly enough. And this wasn't taught until I learned advanced conversational hypnosis. So, this ACH principle is something that also not only made me feel confident about my client results, but also helped me turn multiple sessions, what I would do in multiple calls with my clients, into just one session. And this has been proven time and time again by my clients who say things like, wow, Fritz, I felt like I've had 5 sessions in one, or I've, had so many NLP techniques done on me, and like with just 15 minutes with you, everything has completely changed. So of course I want to share this amazing concept with you. And this concept, this method is testing. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's testing whether or not your client still has your client in front of you still has the problem that they came to you with. And so this is normally done at the end, but once you get really, really good at it, especially if you've been doing ACH for a while, then you can really like weave this in even at the beginning of your sessions. But for your learning, if you're just learning this if you're new and learning this first, then testing can be done pretty much at the end of your session, which is really you're just going to test to see and ask the client how they feel about the problem. And traditionally, and especially in the hypnosis modality I was trained in, I just I helped a client relax. We did the investigatory phase. They kind of feel good, and then they go um, listen passively to the recording, and then that's pretty much it. I follow up with them. But instead of just leaving the client fingers crossed, we are going to test the client at the end to see how they feel about the problem. So I'm going to give you the example that, say you have a client who fears sales calls. That's why they want to come to you, with because they want to become more confident in sales calls. And throughout the call, and throughout the intake that you've done with them, the strategy call, they really tell you that, obviously they don't want to fear scale sales calls anymore because it affects their number of sales. And they want to be able to be okay with having failed sales calls, right? Because it's part of business. And so you do your session, and at the end, there's really two different types and ways we test. There's situational testing, and then there's emotional testing. So situational testing is when you ask them the situations that they already came to you with, which used to be the problem, and see how they feel about those situations. And then the second is the emotions, how they feel about the actual problem. So using the same example of the fear of sales calls, say a client comes to you and says, after they've had, one failed sales call, they have this massive fear with what happens to the next one, and they end up sabotaging the next one. And so a situational um, testing question would be something like, so how do you feel now about sales calls? in general. Like that could be like an easier one to kind of ease yourself in and ease the client in into the testing phase. Don't tell the client you're testing them though. Just like ask them the question, because this is near the end, and just be like, so how do you feel about sales call now? Sales calls now, just very casual, right? And that's the best thing about ACH, it's just very casual. How do you feel about sales calls now? That's actually more like an emotional testing question, but uh, kind of like ease it in. You can mix it up back and forth, but and then you'll follow it up with a situational one, where you're like, okay, so you told me that when you fail a sales call, then it affects your next one. How do you like what happens if tomorrow you fail a sales call and you have another sales call an hour after that? What's coming up? And based on their answer, that's how you know if the problem is solved or not, right? And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a little bit, but another an emotional testing question would be something like, okay, so if you fail a sales call, how do you think you'll feel? Right? Asking them something along those lines, and then getting harder and harder. The key here is to start a little bit easier, and then really go deep into the testing and testing them hard. And this is what we teach inside ACH, because it's kind of difficult to just come out of it without context. It's easier when you're there and the demos are there to help you into being better at these testing questions. Those are definitely things that you want to start off with, right? Really asking them how they feel about the problem. So in emotional testing and the different situations, what they would do within those situations. So, if the client says like that they'll be okay with it, they feel great, they feel amazing. It doesn't matter if they fail a sales call. They're going to learn from it. They're just going to go to a new one with a fresh start, and they test with flying colors, then you can confidently end your session, right? And that feels good to be able to know that your client is now resilient with their new resources and has that new breakthrough, right? From being completely scared about sales calls and them saying, yeah, I'll just move on. Part of business. It's such an amazing, peaceful feeling for the client for them to get to that place. So not only would it be a good experience and experience for them and good breakthrough for them, it's also good for you so that you know that you're confident that you ended the session well. If for some reason they still have that fear, that just means that you have more to unpack, right? And obviously it's going to be better if you unpack that within that session because you're already there, right? You're already there, you're already talking to them. So you just remove the rest of the stuff there. And this is why our sessions are really, really only short, but it stops our clients from coming back or needing more sessions because we really test in ACH. And so yeah, so this has been such a big game changer. I am someone who I would consider a hard tester. I would really, really test my clients' resilience on this, because the concept around this is that if a client, if you test a client during the session, it already starts their resiliency process, and over time, it just makes them more resilient because they're going to be rewiring and processing in the future. And if they can think of ways as to how to deal with those situations right then and there, where you're just, artificially testing them, then they're going to be better in real life. What usually happens in most hypnosis modalities is that, kind of like I explained earlier, right? Relaxation, investigation, recording. And after that, the client is left with a recording, and they may or may not know how to effectively deal or cope with eventual situations in the future, because they haven't had that opportunity for you to test them. So massive game changer. Definitely do this with all of your clients right now, because your clients are just going to thank you, and you're just going to feel really good about yourself and confident in your ability to help your clients, and you can confidently know that your hypnosis session worked. So I hope it helps. Let me know how it goes for you. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you soon.